People who go everywhere alone don't have a problem. The problem belongs to the person who can't be alone for 5 minutes. If anyone has ever asked you, why are you going alone? As if it were something that needed explaining. If you've ever felt that discomfort sitting at a table for one. Or if you've looked at someone eating alone in a restaurant and thought, poor thing. What you're about to see in this video is going to change exactly that. There is a very specific psychological reason why some people need constant company and others don't. It has nothing to do with shyness. It has nothing to do with not having friends. It has to do with something much deeper, how your mind is built. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what psychology says about people who prefer to go alone. Yeah, and why in many cases they have an enormous advantage over everyone else. If this is your first time here, we explore the psychology behind how we live, think, and make decisions. Subscribe and hit the bell. Let's get into it. First, you need to understand why it makes you so uncomfortable to go somewhere alone. In 2017, researchers at the University of Maryland discovered something fascinating. People actively avoid being alone in public, not because it's genuinely uncomfortable, but because they believe other people are judging them. They believe that if they eat alone, others think they have no friends. That if they go to the movies alone, others feel sorry for them. But the same study revealed that this is completely false. External observers rarely make a negative judgment about someone who is alone. Nobody is looking at you, and nobody is thinking about you. This is called the spotlight effect. The belief that you are the center of everyone's attention, when in reality, every single person is too busy thinking about themselves. But if the judgment from others doesn't actually exist, why do we keep feeling it? Because we live in a culture that has spent decades telling us that being alone is synonymous with social failure. From childhood, the more friends you have, the better person you are. Social media has multiplied this by 1,000. Everyone posts group photos, dinners, trips. Nobody posts, today I ate alone and it was incredible. So we learn to see solitude as something to hide. But there's a group of people who never learned that, or who learned it and deliberately chose to ignore it. What do they have that the rest don't? Now, psychologists Deci and Richard Ryan have spent decades studying what a human being actually needs to be. Well, they discovered 3 fundamental psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. People who feel comfortable alone tend to have a very high need for autonomy. That means they need total control over their own decisions, what to eat, what to watch, what time to come home, without negotiating with anyone. And no, that doesn't make them selfish. It makes them people with a very clear relationship with their own freedom. Research shows that when that need for autonomy is satisfied, psychological well-being increases significantly. They don't need anyone to rescue them from being alone, because for them, being alone is exactly what they want. If you're finding value in this, hit the like button. I see it helps this reach more people who need to hear it. Let's keep going. Now there's something many people confuse, and it's important you understand this clearly because it completely changes how you see these individuals. There is a brutal difference between feeling lonely and being alone. In English, we even have 2 separate words for this: loneliness and solitude. And they are not the same thing at all. Loneliness is a negative condition. It's wanting connection and not having it. It's pain. Solitude is exactly the opposite. It's choosing to be alone because you need it, because it nourishes you, because it recharges you. The difference is simple. One is imposed on you, the other you choose, and choosing it changes everything. Studies show that solitude activates very specific mental processes. It increases creativity. It improves self-reflection. It regulates emotions. People accustomed to being alone are better at recognizing what they feel and processing their life experiences. Carl Jung understood this over a century ago when he defined introversion. It doesn't mean being shy. It doesn't mean not liking people. It means your energy comes from inside, not from outside. Every social interaction drains your battery, and silence recharges it. But here comes something nobody tells you. And it's the real advantage I mentioned at the beginning. It has to do with how these people relate to themselves, with a level of self-trust that most people never develop. The psychologist Bandura spent decades studying what he called self-efficacy, the belief a person has in their own ability to handle situations. And people who feel comfortable alone have very high levels of self-efficacy. They don't need anyone to confirm that they can. If they get lost, they ask. If they don't understand the menu, they figure it out. If they get bored, they find something. That confidence doesn't fall from the sky. It's the direct result of having faced small situations alone, over and over, until the brain learned one thing: I can handle this, and there's something else. When you're alone, your attention isn't divided. You don't have to manage other people's moods. You don't have to curate your image. You don't have to participate in conversations that don't interest you. You're completely present. Mindfulness research calls this full presence. It's exactly what happens when you eat alone and actually taste the food, or when you walk alone and become fully aware of your surroundings. And something else disappears, something that consumes an enormous amount of mental energy: social comparison. Without anyone next to you to compare yourself against, you can be exactly who you are. This isn't about it being better to be alone or better to be accompanied. It's about understanding what you need. But if you're someone who still hasn't given yourself permission to go out alone, to eat alone, to travel alone, maybe what's stopping you isn't that you don't want to. Maybe it's that you've spent years believing you need a reason to do it. You don't need a reason. And if you already go everywhere alone and someone has looked at you funny for it, now you know exactly what's happening in their head. The spotlight effect. Social comparison. The fear of a judgment that never arrives. The next time someone asks you, "Why do you go alone?" you can smile and think, "Because I can." If you recognized yourself in this, leave a quiet comment. And if you're interested in the psychology behind how we live, feel, and make decisions, subscribe to the channel. The next video might explain something about yourself that you've felt for a long time, but never put into words. See you there.